as Mark was getting desperate, the goat just now suddenly barked. It seemed to be giving him a hint. Mark looked up and saw the goat bracing its front and back legs on each side of the gap in the rock face. He climbed up the smooth, steep cliff with ease. Seeing this, Mark's hope for survival was renewed. He plucked up his courage. Releasing his hands from the hold of his body, he lunged across the cliff. Luckily, the gap wasn't too wide. Mark was tall enough, just enough for him to get stuck horizontally in, although it looked very dangerous. But it worked. A short break. Mark pushes himself up. He starts to move up a little. The goats around him seem to be moved by his resilience. They stop where they are, cheering him on. Soon, Mark climbs up the gap to a small platform that juts out. But before he could rejoice, he realized that it was still 2 or 3 meters from the top of the cliff, and the cliff face was very smooth. It was impossible to climb up. But just at that moment, the fragile platform suddenly began to collapse. There was no time for Mark to think of a solution. In the nick of time, his mind went blank. Instinctively, he turned around on the back of a goat. Like a monkey, he jumped to the edge of the cliff on his hands and knees. Mark's face was red with excitement. He couldn't believe he'd made it. However, just as he was about to reach the top, a fierce-looking ram suddenly walked up to Mark, and without saying a word, he crashed into him. He almost fell off. Mark was furious and angry. He couldn't understand why the ram was giving him a hard time. He survived the plane crash, and he ended up dying at the hands of a sheep. The thought made Mark even angrier. As the ram came at him again, he let go of his hands and grabbed the ram's horns for dear life. He tried to pull the ram down and bury him with him. Little did he know, when the ram was caught, he didn't get so frantic that he pushed Mark down. Instead, he dragged him backwards with him. The ram soon dragged the exhausted Mark up the cliff. Mark lay safely on the grass. He was in a